Okay, so you're doing astrophotography, you have your cool equipment there, and you need something to control it. And maybe you don't want to go with something like an ASI Air or a Stella Vita or a StellarMate Pro or any equipment that has an integrated like power output hub and a lot of USB ports available. Maybe you want to use one of those cheap like mini PCs, which I've recommended quite a lot on the channel. This is the Melee Quieter 4C, and it's amazing for astrophotography. Its real weakness is that it has no way to deliver power to other devices, like your camera that usually needs power for photography because it's cooled via a Peltier cooler. And also it has only 3 full-size USB ports, only 2 of them are USB 3, which in some cases can be enough. In other cases, it's really lacking. And so you need something else. You need some sort of little device that will be able to power everything that you need. So a device that could power your mini PC, could power your mount, could power your camera, could power your focuser if it requires power, which this one doesn't, and could power also your dew heaters, right, to make sure that your equipment stays dew-free throughout the night. A lot of stuff to power, and this thing on its own won't cut it, even though it is quite amazing. So when you need to power all of that stuff, typically what people buy is something called a power hub. And there have been some very popular power hubs. There's been, like, I think the Pegasus Astro Power BOX and various versions of that. There's been the Wanderer Astro Power BOX. There's been an attempt by SVBony called the SV241 Power BOX, which was a very simple little hub of a device and very cheap, but very simple at the same time. And also you have power boxes from really cheap brands on AliExpress like Gemini. But talking about SVBony, SVBony has released a new power box. It's called the SV241 Pro. And I've already shown the non-pro version on the channel. It was super cheap, super simple kind of thing. This one is far, far more advanced, and it can also be controlled via your computer. So if this computer there is connected to the power box, the 241 Pro, it's going to be able to turn off and on the ports. It's going to be able to, for some ports, control the actual power output to the ports for proper, as I said, dew heater management. It's also going to be able to read the humidity and temperature of the air. And then automatically deal with your dew heaters. All of this kind of nice features that you really ideally want to have in such a power box. And what makes this thing special is that it's cheap. It's actually really cheap. The base price is, I believe, $212 US, which is definitely much cheaper than you'd pay something like $300+ for something equivalent from Pegasus Astro or Wonder Astro for that matter. I think the only thing that comes close is the Gemini on AliExpress at roughly the same price. But this guy here, it's currently on sale. I don't know until when, but it's at $170 US. And yes, spoiler alert, it's a bit of a bargain. Let me show you what's in the box. You get your power box, which isn't tiny by any stretch of the imagination, but it is pretty nice, hefty, but still light. And I'll look at the ports a bit later on. We also have a wrench here, okay? And, oh, I see why we have this. We also have a little mounting adapter so that you can mount your little power box with the screws to a finder scope saddle, for instance, which, you know, basically most telescopes have that. So you could use that to mount your power box. And the power box also at the center seems to have a 1/4 of an inch standard photo tripod adapter, which, by the way, should match exactly the screw that I have here on top of my Quattro 150p telescope here. So I'll probably be able to just mount it there. And then if I remove this little thingy here, we get a lot of cables. So we get, I think this is supposed to be the main cable with a 12-volt Siger plug adapter. And then we have one USB 3 cable, one DC 12-volt cable, another DC 12-volt cable, a third DC 12-volt cable. They're all male-to-male. And we have a temperature sensor, as well as a temperature and, I assume, humidity. Yes, it's written T+H, temperature plus humidity sensor that can be used for your dew heaters. And then you have a manual, a printed manual, which is always nice to see. And it tells you what's in the box, how to use it, how to install software, and also how much power is basically eaten up by common astrophotography equipment, including one N100 mini PC. Apparently, the peak power consumption is around 30 watts, and the shooting power consumption, so when we're using it normally, is between 4 and 15. So this is perfect for that. And the manual is actually very complete. So I really recommend actually reading it because it goes through all of the ports, how they can work, what output they can support, and how to really compute the peak power consumption of all of your devices to make sure you're not going to have any issues, recommendations about cables, and a lot of good stuff that for someone like me, who is absolutely like I don't know anything about electrical stuff really in general, it's super helpful to know exactly what to do. But anyway, going back to the main device, on this side here, we have a plug for the temperature plus humidity sensor, the temperature sensor as well. So those both are provided. So here I have the temperature plus humidity. If I want to use it, I'll just plug it in like that. We have two ports, that's standard PWM ports out, and this is for dew heaters. Now, I've never had a dew heater that actually uses this type of plug. I use dew heaters that have an integrated temperature controller in them. And of course, the power to those ports can be regulated automatically based on the temperature and humidity that have been sensed by the box. We have a regulated power output. So this is between 0 and 15 volts, 3 amps. So you can use that here. And then on this side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 12 volts DC power outputs, which can switch off and on directly within the software, either ASCOM controlled, so you can control everything from Nina, for instance, or from some software provided by SVBony that just runs on Windows. And then you have one port which is always on, which I think would be a great port to use for me for the PC itself, right? To have one port that is always on. So we have already 5, 6, 7 power outputs plus 2 outputs for dew heaters. And if I move to this side, we get the input stuff. So this is the main input USB 3, so to connect to your PC, for your PC to control everything on this device, but also control the ports of the USB hub. And then you have the power input here, which is 5.5 times 2.5 millimeters. So it's a slightly different format than what you may be used to. It's a format that is very often used for, let's say, large power or larger power applications. So it's 12 volt, 10 amps max. And then on the other side, we have USB ports. There's 2 USB 3s, 3 USB 2s, and 1 USB-C. And those USB outputs are also, you can turn them off and on again, which is pretty nice when you have like trouble with the device. You don't want to, or your remote, and you can just basically turn off the number 1 and 2 at the same time, or turn them on. And you also have another switch for number 3 to 5 here. So the 2 USB 3s plus 1 USB 2 that you can turn off and on again. So 2 groups of ports that you can turn off and on, and then you have the USB-C. I think USB-C is actually in the first group. So this is actually pretty cool to be able to turn off and on those things. And so this is a pretty substantial thing, right? There's a lot of output that's available, and a guy like me who doesn't know anything about electrical engineering and all of this power stuff, I'm not really the right person to review it. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to use it. And I've already had some feedback from my Patreon supporters that this is working really well. So I have some positive stuff already, but I'll show you how I'll be using this thing. And first things first, I'm going to put it on the telescope, see what happens. Yes, it is indeed the proper size, so I can just mount it on this screw. Obviously, you could mount it on a finder kind of stuff, and I could have my computer on top, I guess. And for that computer, which takes power input as 12 volts via USB-C, I have this cable here that I bought like a long time ago on Amazon Japan, and I'll be able to just plug it to the always-on power output here, and that should work. I'll be using my usual power input cable for the input power to the so mine supports this 2.5 millimeter inside prong there in the plug, but otherwise you'd need to get some kind of adapter, or simply use the cable that is provided by SVBony that goes from the Siger type of plug to a compatible 12 volt with the 5.5 times up per 2.5 millimeters there. So this would be your answer if you don't have that. Then I'll make sure that I have the temperature and humidity sensor connected. Although for me, it shouldn't matter because my dew heaters there, they use standard DC inputs, and then they have an integrated temperature humidity sensor to adapt themselves, right? So I don't really need to mess with that normally. Then because I already have power to the box, I'll just turn on my computer. There it is. So now it's getting turned on, and I can keep going with the connections. What do we need to connect? We need to connect the camera power to this guy here. So I'm going to use one of the cables. I think a longer one will work best. And here we go. I'm just going to connect to the port number 1. So now the camera gets power. Something else that needs power is the mount, right? So I need to make sure that I have a cable that's loose enough. I think this is too short. Okay, so the cables that I have from SVBony are slightly too short for my taste. This is because this equipment will be moving left and right. And so the position of this with regards to the port on the mount itself isn't going to be static, it's going to be dynamic. So I want to have a little bit of slack in the cable that I use. So I'm just going to use one of my own cables that is male to male. And now it is connected, so I have power to my mount as well. And it's connected. It doesn't look pretty, but we can do cable management later. And then what else? I need to be able to control the mounts. And for that, I can use one of the USB cables that I have between the mount saddle, because this is the M5N, so I have a mount saddle USB control port, and plug it into one of the USB 2.0 ports that I have on the SVBony Power Box. What else do I need to connect? This filter wheel is connected to the camera via the hub. The camera is connected. The camera USB is not connected yet. So I'm going to connect the main camera to a USB 3 port. Pop, there we go. And then I have another camera, which is my guide cam here that also supports USB 3. So I might as well use it. And even though it's useless, just to see what happens, I'm going to connect one of my dew heaters there to see what happens. And with that, I seem to have everything connected. My PC is on, so let me try to connect to the PC and control this power hub, see if it's all going to work. So I'll use a laptop to control that. But of course, because the whole thing is controllable via an ASCOM driver, you'll also be able to use the Touch and Stars application on a smartphone to control everything, including the power box, from a smartphone, even if you're using something like Nina. Okay, I'm connected via Wi-Fi to my mini PC here, and I have a remote desktop session going on. And let me show you how the software from SVBony works. Now, one thing I will mention, and something I don't really like, is that you cannot download the software freely from the website. You have to go to the SV241 Pro page, and then in there you want to go to additional documentation. That's where you find the downloads, but there's no download link. I mean, there is a download button, but it tells you to input your email, and then they will send you an email to that email with a link to the download, which I assume it's a protective measure to avoid being like having a lot of bandwidth stolen by people randomly downloading the drivers, but it's a bit annoying. Just something to note. But anyway, one of the downloads that we get is this thing, the Serial Control app, and we can run it here on Windows, and here we get the ability to connect to our power hub. We are connected now. We have the adjustment for our power management stuff, so I'm just going to put both to 0 because I'm not using those ports. And we also have like the ability to switch the USB on and off here exactly as we want it. So this guy here, this button, switches on the USB-C number 1 and number 2 ports, USB 2.0, and this guy here manages the 2 USB 3 ports, the ones that are connected to both cameras, and the last USB 2 port. So for me, this means that this guy here on the left will control whether I want to connect to the mount or not. And the guy on the right here will be controlling whether I'm connected to the cameras that I have or not. So that's pretty convenient to be able to switch on and off the USB stuff. And then I have 3 power ports that are in use in addition to the always-on power port to the mini PC. So one of them is the camera. It's the number 1. And I heard something, so that's a good sign. Number 2 is the mount. And number 3 is my useless dew heater here that I'm not really using, just plug it in to see what happens. But it's because it has its own smart lens heater kind of controller, sensor and controller there. It's like the power box doesn't have to do anything about it. It's going to manage itself, so I don't need to do anything. So that's what happens when you control everything from the the SVBony hub control software. I'm just going to disconnect for it, close it, and show you how we can control it via Nina. So I'm going to open up Nina, and in Nina, the switch should be available under a switch, or the hubs should be available under their switch. And in there, I can select my ASCOM driver for SVBony switch. This, of course, assumes that you have installed the driver and the driver was also available from the downloads page from SVBony. So I'm gonna click the settings icon and I want to select the correct COM port. And it has selected, basically I have access to 2 of the COM ports that are available on the PC. I'm just gonna select COM8 because that's what I know is correct. If you're in doubt, you can go to the device manager, open the device manager, and under ports COM and LPT, the correct one is going to be the guy that says CH340. Like, unless if you have multiple, well, you have to test them one by one. But otherwise, there you go. It's COM8 CH340. And so I selected COM8, and I can choose names for my stuff. So I can say DC1 is camera, DC2 is mount, and DC3 is useless dew heater. I think this is pretty descriptive. And then C plus USB 1, I'm going to call it like mount USB. And these guys is going to be cameras USB. There we go. That's going to be my names for now. And I'm going to connect to it from Nina. And we have all of the control for the hub. From here, we can see the ambient temperature, the dew point. We're pretty far away from the dew point, so that's pretty nice. And we can turn off and on the DC ports that we have here, as well as the USB ports. So everything is controllable from there, including the adjustable power output port and the PWM ports as well. So everything here available in Nina. Once I have all of that properly turned on, I should be able to find my camera, which is this guy here, connect to it. I should be able to start cooling it, should work without issue. Turn on the dew heater while I'm at it, strength 2 should be enough. Then I should be able to do the same thing for the filter wheel and say, what do we have? We have a Toptech filter wheel, and connect to it, and connect to my focuser, which is going to be a Toptech focuser, I think. This guy here, connected. My mount, which is powered from the hub, is an ASI mount, and it's connected. And we have basically everything connected like that. And that's basically working. There's not much for me to do. This is not getting warm because we're far from the dew point, right? So it doesn't really care. Anyway. So what I cannot do really is basically see the limits in terms of power of this SVBony power hub. But I really like how this is all made easy, basically. And it lets me use it. Basically, the big advantage of this is that at the price of $170 US, it lets me have functionality that I don't really get with a normal mini PC, or even something like the Gaius S2 from RB Focus, because here I can turn off and on USB ports. That can be useful to really reset the connectivity between the device and the PC. And at the same time, I can choose my PC separately, because this guy here uses an N100 processor, which is much more powerful than the processor in the Gaius S2 that I like to use. And so the responsiveness is, you can feel it actually when you're manipulating Nina. And of course, I can use my phone as well with Touch and Stars to connect to my equipment. So when I start Touch and Stars, I can see everything that is connected in Nina. One of the things already connected is our switch. I have a US Army helicopter flying above me because, yeah, they like to interrupt my YouTube videos. Looks like a CH-47 Chinook, whatever. But yeah, going back to our app, I can go to this icon here and we have the switch control all over again. So I can control everything as part of my smartphone interface. So this kind of stuff is also good if you know you're going to be controlling Nina via smartphone rather than via the desktop interface. So overall, for an amateur like me who's not really very knowledgeable in power boxes, this is really nice. And I think it's for the price, it's a bit of a no-brainer if you're going to be using something else than an ASI Air and you want to choose your own mini PC like the Quieter 4C. Of course, I'll have the link to this power box as well as the PC, which I really recommend, down in the description. Plus, I got a coupon from SVBony that knocks out $20 worth from the price for the power box. So yeah, it's really kind of a no-brainer at that price if you have the use case for it. And let me know what you think about this compared to other power boxes that are available on the market. Let me know down in the comments while you're at it. Like the video, it really helps the channel out. More important, thank you so much for watching till the end. It really, really helps out. And if you want to support the channel even more and you're planning on buying anything from SVBony, from Amazon, Agena, High Point Scientific, etc. If you do so after clicking one of the links that I have down in the description, it will help me out at no cost to you. And if you want to become a direct sponsor of the channel, make all of this and all of the work that goes into those tests possible, you can join my Patreon. The link is down in the description. Some of my Patreon ranks have access to my videos early and without ads. Or you can also join the channel as a member. It's the join button next to the subscribe button. And you guys, Patreon supporters, channel members, you know it. All of this is only possible because of you. Thank you so much for your support over the years. This has been an amazing journey. Let's keep going. With that, I look forward to your comments. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, whenever you can, to look up at the stars, and I'll see you next time.